we are partnering with the state of Texas in this event. We want to elevate the state of Texas.
Why?
Well, the reason is because the state of Texas, as you will find out in our event, is in the forefront and is a forerunner and is a pioneer for really what I would say are values that all of us hold dear, that the rest of America, and again, I'm not saying that Texas is better than the rest of America, but certainly the state of Texas is leading the way in values that we hold dear.
And he's going to bring that out in its application.
Well, let me say this. That's what makes the state of Texas have the number one economy in the United States of America.
The Lone Star State.
It's not that there's so many wonderful business people that are more bright than any other state, but the bottom line is I believe that, again, core values, and we're going to talk about that core values are what matters most. And when you get your what matters most right, it dictates everything else. And so when I live a core values-based life, which we'll talk about at Elevate 09 at State Fair Music Hall. We'll talk about that when you get your core values right, it will determine how everything else flows in your life. And so I believe the core values of the state of Texas are setting a standard, especially in this day and age in which we live, that the rest of America is going to look to. And you know why? Because he who has the gold wins. And so the state of Texas right now has the gold. And again, it's not because there's smarter people in the state of Texas or that we're in the lower bowels of America, but the bottom line is it's because it's the way we think as Texans. Can somebody say amen?
And I'm an Aussie, as probably listeners can tell that I'm from deep south of Texas. And but what I want to bring out is one of the things that attracts, and the law and psychology of radiation attraction, one of the things that attracts me about Texas and this seminar is that people are going to be radiating a message that it will attract people to elevate their thinking. I just want to cover a really important point here. We've got listeners here right now that they're going to go to elevatedallas.com and have a look at this.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, why do I go to another seminar? I've been to so many seminars. This one sounds a little bit different. What's really different about it? Well, let me just say this. Repetition, just one point alone, repetition is the mother of learning.
Yep.
The reason I know 7 sevens are 49 is because it was repetitively taught to me in grade school.
Yep.
So the principles are going to be brought out by the leadership gurus headed by yourself and John Maxwell. I don't care if you've heard it before. You could hear it in the 7th or 8th or 9th time, and that 1% factor. Let's talk about that.
Well,
that
let's
you're
talk
going to bring
about
out.
that, because I think, Paul, they're not just going to hear repetition. I think they're going to hear some things they've never heard before.
I agree with
I have
that.
a book coming out in 2010 called The 1% Factor, and 99% of our DNA is the same. There's only a 1% difference in every person, no matter what their ethnicity is, no matter what their age is, but yet all of us have a unique fingerprint that God has given us to leave an imprint that nobody else can leave. But it's one thing for me to have a fingerprint. That's one finger. To leave an imprint, it takes my whole hand. And that's what makes alignment so important, is because you align with other unique fingerprints and you leave an imprint that you could never leave by yourself. You know, you think of a man and a woman that come together, and it's still God's way, by the way, that a man and a woman do come together. And when they come together, they reproduce the best part of themselves, and it's called a child. It's the same way in business. It's the same way in life. And here's why. Because for everything in the natural, there is a supernatural correlation.
Absolutely.
And so what's going to be birthed out of this event? And again, we want to encourage you, and we're going to say it over and over, go to elevatedallas.com, check it out, check out the speakers.
Yes.
But what's going to be unique about this event is that we're not only partnering, again, with the city of Dallas, with Mayor Tom Leppert, we're partnering with the state of Texas, but we're also partnering with the number one leadership guru in the world. We're partnering with Stephen Scott, who I believe is the number one marketing genius in the world.
Yes.
One of the founders of American Telecast Corporation.
The results are there.
The results are there. Now is a founder in an organization called Max that is the fastest growing business in American history.
Correct.
In business history.
In any kind of business
he's
model.
Going to be talking about basically how to market yourself, how to market your business, how to market your life.
And Phil Cook.
Phil Cook is a branding expert. He's a Hollywood producer. He will be there talking about how you're your own brand and how to really take your brand to another level. He works with some of the finest corporations in America, has worked on major movie projects. And again, he's going to be doing a session on your personal brand. Ken Dunn is going to be there. Ken Dunn
it's
a great story. He's from Canada, actually lives in Canada, but was a police officer in Canada for 14 years, was a part of their SWAT team there.
Yeah.
But has become a businessman who just last year made over $1 million.
He's still a young man.
It's still a very young man, made over $100,000 a month, 6-figure income. And again, is going to talk about partnering. He's going to talk about alignment, but also he's our kickoff speaker on Friday.
And there's a good reason for that.
And the reason for that, Paul, is because he's going to talk about how events like this took him from being a cop to a person that's making a difference in the world and in different people's lives, and how he's created wealth for himself and created wealth for other people.
And it's interesting you mentioned him being a cop. Part of the do of the event and linking with Mayor Leppert and the greater Dallas community is that we're going to honour and celebrate and elevate some people at the event who have served in the community. And the reason we're doing that is we want to honour them, but we want to also challenge people the way they think, because any great movement in one's life is about what you do for others. And you've got a great message on generosity.
Yeah.
And one of the key elements of the do of this seminar, the actual what you'll leave with, and I should just write down what you and I articulated earlier today about the vision of this. Each and every participant is going to leave with a faith-based view of how their position works in relationship to leadership in any area, and it begins with community.
Right.
Because unless we do that, every great movement in any area of life, and it was just recently pointed out to me by Mayor Leppert actually at a luncheon last week, that all the great revivals all started with somebody standing up and doing something about social justice.
Let me take that to another level.
Yeah.
All great moves of God were birthed through business leaders.
Absolutely.
They weren't birthed because of a great evangelist. They weren't birthed because of a great prophet. They were birthed through great business leaders.